This is the largest, most aggressive ban list I have ever seen. Konami has had enough! The only thing that could explain a ban list of this magnitude is that a lead dev had to have actually played their own game during the last KC Cup, then decided to delete any deck he lost to. Very quickly, before I dive into the ban list, you're going to want to know what will the ban list meta be. While I will discuss in this video the effect of the ban list on the current meta and what could possibly be the new meta, the best way to see the ban list in action will be on twitch.tv/duellinksmeta. Tuesday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST, I'll be playtesting the new ban list. I'll be playing the new Noble Knight structure deck. Also, we will be running $12 free entry 100-player duel room tournaments. You don't have to speak. You play anonymously. You automatically get paired up. There are no judges, no decklist submission. It is the perfect tournament to join casually or competitively if you are joined on YouTube or subscribed on Twitch. Then on Thursday at 2:30 p.m. EST, we have a $300 ban list tournament. Let's hop right in. Cocytus banned. Oh my Jesus, this has possibly been one of the most suppressive cards of all of Duel Links. Anytime you make a deck, the #1 question usually is, can it deal with a Cocytus? No more will you have to play around Cocytus. So many more decks will be potentially viable. Cocytus single-handedly made a deck like Desperado no longer top tier because Desperado Barrel Dragon, not big enough to take out the Cocytus, destroys, and the Cocytus cannot be targeted nor destroyed by card effects, so Desperado possibly going to make a big comeback here. Cocytus also forced a lot of decks to have to play Herald of the Abyss randomly. You just had to put one in your deck just because your entire deck had no out to the Cocytus. Cocytus was a great card against Ritual Beast. Ritual Beast, they would have to play cards like the Heralds of the Abyss to deal with the Cocytus because their main out to monsters and or any issues is the Petalfin, targeting to return back to the hand. So Ritual Beast will possibly make a big return in the meta with Cocytus no longer being here. Now, because I want to keep this nice and orderly and I do not want to be jumping around, I'm going to group up the Cocytus ban with the newly limited to 3 Invocation and Fusion Reserve. Invocation at 3 is something I 100% predicted on what Konami would do, but I was hesitant on it a little bit because this would be the first time ever Konami is restricting you from playing an ultra rare to the point where you basically lose your ultra rare from your collection. For example, this is how everyone would play the Invocation with Invoker, which now both of them being limited to 3 means you can only play 3 total. So you will lose an Invoker and you will lose an Invocation, as you will have to then play 2 Invoker and 1 Invocation. Of course, you are also losing your Cocytus. They also limited Fusion Reserve. While not everyone was using this, they did want to get out in front of us before we all resort to using it to search for our Invoker. That's what it do, because we're now going to have to play 2 Invoker, 1 Invocation if you're still going to play the deck, and then I'm sure a lot of people were going to just jam in a bunch of Fusion Reserves. Konami did not want to look back and have to nerf a card again within the Invoked engine, possibly in the future. They just want to hit it now, not look back. And as you could see, the Invoker was released September 2019. It's been top tier ever since release. That's been over a year. Will it still be top tier? Well, let's talk about the impact of Invocation to 1. I say it's at 1 because you could only play 1 with 2 other Invokers. And a really big deal with this is going to be if your opponent activates Cosmic Cyclone onto your 1 Invocation, that's it. You're done. Normally, you would still do that to stop them from adding their Invoker back to the hand, but then you know that they have another Invocation that protected them from Cosmic Cyclone. I really do not see people playing 2 Invocations with 1 Invoker, so not only is Invoker less consistent, it loses to Cosmic Cyclone, and it can no longer sit on the Cocytus. So looking at the tier list, Invoked Magician Girls, you could say goodbye to Invoked. While many decks were using Invoker, Invoked Magician Girls were the ones on the tier list. Karakuri Merchant to 1. Oh my Jesus, I did not expect them to hit the deck that hard because the Kunam Zan is relatively new. If we look at Kunam Zan, which is what brought back the deck from the dead, this was August 2020. You'd think that they would be okay with the deck for a little bit longer, but apparently since August, they've had enough of the deck because of Kunam Zan, single-handedly, because of this card. They had to nerf Nanishi, and now they had to put the merchant to 1. This one merchant, one card combo, you'd summon it, you'd search for your Kunam Zan, you make your beret special summons from the deck. Here is an example of how the deck would be played. Of course, you'd be playing 3 of your merchant, and you are literally playing restart to restart your hand for the merchant. You would even mess up your deck. You'd have to play 7 spells and 7 traps minimum alongside your monster count to ensure that your restart could be used at the start of the duel. Otherwise, restart does not even work. Now, what was the math on this? What were the chances of opening up your merchant if you would play restart just for the merchant? So with that 21 card deck example, he has a 48.9% chance to open up a merchant. But if you specifically restart for just merchant, that is a 73.9% chance to open up your merchant. What is the new math with the newly limited to 1 merchant? Well, now, initially, it is just a 20% chance to open up the merchant with a 20 card deck in your opening hand. But if you are playing with restart and you are restarting just for the merchant, it will be a 36% chance with restart. Many people believed with the 74% chance to open up your merchant that the deck only had a 26% chance of auto losing when you don't open up the merchant. So what is the new chance? 64% chance of an auto lose? Seems like the deck might not be worth playing at all anymore unless you play trap heavy. Oh my Jesus. 2 top tier decks down, and how many more to go? Let's keep on going through this ban list. Up next on the top tier deck slaughter is the Shiranui deck type, which we had to split into 2 different deck types. Let's go. Shiranui. This is another slaughter. Lots of cards semi-limited. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 semi-limited cards, and you can only play 2 total among all 4 of those cards. So automatically, if you build a Shiranui deck, you must at least exclude 2 of these 4 cards. This is not like TCG. You cannot play 2, 2, 2, 2. You can only play 2 in the total of these 4 cards. Sun Saga, similarly to Cocytus, has been quite oppressive, as people could very easily summon this card in the first turn. 3,500 attack, cannot be destroyed by card effects or battle. That was insane. That's not even discussing being able to summon it and destroy cards on the field without targeting. What did the decks look like? Well, here is a control Shiranui version where this is definitely invalid now. It's going to have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 cards from the deck. That is a big deal. Even more devastated is the combo Shiranui deck type, which is going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards from the deck. Dkayed, I hate Shiranui. Please tell me this is the end of Shiranui. While this does in fact look like a slaughter, it is a slaughter. The deck could still possibly exist. Here is an example of a deck that already reached King of Games post Banlist from Axel. Yes, lots of back row, triple spectral sword, 1 solitaire, and they're now going to play Samurai Skull in addition to Gazuki to help make the combo more consistent. It will not be summoning the Sun Saga on the first turn anymore, so if that was the main thing you hated about the deck, dealing with the Sun Saga plus a bunch of back row, that's not going to be a thing. Spectral Sword is still an incredibly cost-efficient combo, and especially being able to use it from the graveyard when comboed up with Ballista Squad to tribute off your monsters to get pop-in, and Samurai Skull and Gazuki being able to send the Spectral Sword and the Solitaire. Possibly Shiranui is still going to be here, but it will be much slower, a lot less oppressive. They're not going to be making the turn 1 Sun Saga. Hopefully the deck is no longer on the top tier list, but we still may see Shiranui. Now we are on to the final deck on the tier list to see what happened to it. Let's hop in onto Crystrons. Oh my. While Shiranui has 4 cards semi-limited, Crystrons essentially have 5 cards semi-limited. Now I know Scrap Recycler and Controller are not inherently Crystron cards, but those were the only top tier uses of those cards being used in Crystron. So again, 5 cards, you could only use 2 of them. If we look at a top tier example of what Crystrons look like, that is a lot of newly semi-limited cards. They're going to completely lose their Scrap Recyclers. That's 3 cards. They're going to lose 2 Citries. I do think they'll play at least once. That's 5 cards. They're going to lose their Rion. They're going to lose a Controller, maybe still play a Controller, maybe still play an Impact. In total, just looking at this, they lose 8 cards from this deck list. The deck is completely changed. Now, if you don't understand why Controller was nerfed, it is tied to the Undyne. In Undyne with Scrap Recycler, they both serve the same purpose, which is to on summon, they will send a Crystron from your deck to the graveyard, making the deck incredibly consistent, even being played at 30 cards. Konami was not playing. No one expected a nerf this big to Crystrons, but even on top of this nerf, there still might be hope for Crystrons, as we already have a King of Games example of what Crystrons could look like. Here is a deck from Road Dark hitting King of Games. They're going to play Undyne with the Controller as their semi-limit alongside Citri, so they are not playing the Impact, and this is going to be focused purely on the C Stealth attack. That combo is still incredibly powerful, as it will allow you to destroy any monster at the start of the damage step. And with the Undyne, not only are you sending a Crystron from the deck to the graveyard, you could also send a Whale. And with the triple Rosalynx, that's going to combo up with the Creature Seizure, a non-targeting swap your monster with your opponent's monster, and what you're giving them is going to be a level 1/0 attack token in attack position. I also see he's playing Quan, which, unlike the Citri and the Rion using the grave and banish pile to synchro during your opponent's turn, this card instead uses your hand. So with the Rosalynx in your hand and a Quan on the field, you are going to be making your Amatrix still. Now, the good news about them depending on C Stealth attack more, even though it looks like they are playing 3, which they are in fact playing 3, Cosmic will banish the field spell, and that will completely stop all 3 C Stealth attacks. Now, they did not only hit the top tier decks, which they hit every single one of them, they also hit some other decks. Dark Magician received another nerf through this ban list. Now, a lot of people are in disbelief from this, but I believe that the Circle, Navigate, Dark Magician combo, it is a degenerate combo. It is not fun to play against. It is a near instant win versus so many decks if they do not open up their Cosmic Cyclone, and Konami just wants to reduce it. So this is what a top tier deck example looks like with Dark Magician. The Rod was semi-limited, so they switched the semi-limit over to the Illusion instead, and now with the Rod being limited to 3, alongside the Navigation, you're going to have to take out 2 of these cards. So what are you going to play? 2 Navigate and 1 Rod? That greatly reduces the consistency of the Circle, Navigate, Dark Magician combo. A lot of people are going to be very, very upset with this, while also be very happy with this because they won't have to play against this. And also, if any deck of Dark Magician was using Cosmic Cyclone, they could no longer use it because the Rod and the Navigate being at 3 means no longer you could use the Cosmic Cyclone. Is this the absolute end of Dark Magician? I don't think so. I think you're going to have to, instead of heavily leaning on the Navigate Circle combo, which again I'll say I believe is degenerate, you're going to have more fun with the deck. Possibly your deck's going to look something like this. You might be playing with the Magician of Chaos now, which is a lot of fun. Eye of Timaeus, you might be playing more of these to play more around the Dark Cavalry, summoning this, negate any card that targets. You're going to also probably be playing Dark Magic Veils, which could summon your Dark Spellcaster, Dark Magician from your hand or from your graveyard, triggering your Dark Magical Circle. Playing 2 Illusion could possibly be very good with some back row. You open up with the Circle, maybe a Rod, search the Circle, set some back row, activate your back row, then the Dark Illusion will be summoned from your hand. So the deck is going to be a lot less degenerate and possibly a lot more fun and hopefully still competitive. This is the initial recap of what has been hit so far. Let's move on to another deck. Dragunity got hit. This was a popular deck during the Casey Cup, also popular on the ladder if you want really quick and easy wins. This deck was all about 1-turn kill. Wipe out the back row with Cosmics and or Trunade, summon your Sonatus, make your big boy Ascalon, and then just banish their entire field of monsters, then win the game in that turn. Well, this is an example deck of what was used in the KC Cup, and as you could see, they were not even using the Divine Lance being semi-limited because instead they wanted to use Hatronade. So Konami saw this as an issue. They're like, wait a second, we semi-limited so you would not have access to Hatronade, but apparently you are not respecting our semi-limit. How about you respect this? Now your Sonatus is semi-limited, which they definitively have no choice. They do have to play 2 Sonatus. This will officially remove the Hatronades from the deck, making the deck not only less sacky, but also less consistent. Now let's move on to extra stuff from the ban list where they aren't really nerfing a deck or doing anything too crazy. No longer on the list is the Hero Shadow Scout, which on flip your opponent has to draw 3 cards. Basically, it was used for deck out decks. I guess Konami is more okay with them, at least the current power level of them, so expect this in some degenerate cancer decks. Donpa no longer on the list. Well, if we look at for hire right now, just the Dyna will be limited to 1 at the moment, with Donpa used to being at 2, which means you could not play with Hatronade. So I'm thinking that they're possibly going to re-bring this deck back out. We're going to be playing triple Donpa, have our enemy controller or our Hatronade. Our Wiz is going to be negating. They might even remove Dyna off of the ban list if the deck is not too oppressive, suppressive, or too good after this change. So definitely expect possibly a comeback from Furhire. And quickly, if you're unfamiliar with the Furhire deck type, this deck type is all about spilling your hand on the field. Most of the Furhires will activate to summon a Furhire from the hand, then activate to do something after that summon. So the Donpa was the one where it would summon a Furhire from the hand, which will then activate to pop a face-up card in the field. And the final change is Assault Armor 2-3. This was semi-limited. No one was using it, and I think no one will continue to use it. You equip it to a warrior, then it gains 300. You could then send this equip card to the graveyard to allow the equipped monster to attack twice during each battle phase. I believe this opens up some one-turn kills that Konami was afraid of happening. And to top it off, what will be meta? Well, we could look at the website for now, and we can go on over to the top decks page, and we could click on ban list compliance. So watch all of these decks disappear as we only check ban list compliant decks. As we scroll down real quickly, you could see that this will have a little ban symbol if the deck is not ban list compliant. So let's go. Boom. As we could see from here, just by going from popularity of King of Games and or tournaments, we're not going to be able to see the full changes of the decks that did get hit, but we could see what didn't get hit, and that is Ritual Beast, Cyber Dragon, Thunder Dragons, Heroes, Black Wings, Desperado, Water, Exceed, Blue Eyes, Magnet Warriors. I might want to even extend that onto Onomat, Goki, Lunalite, Megalith, Witchcrafter. I will even extend it to Weather Painter. I will skip over Predaplant. I'll say Triamids. Oh my, Arrow Mages, even Evil Eye, possibly Triple D. Yosenju will possibly see some success. Will we see a return of Subterror? Possibly not. Six Sam, possibly so. There are so many different possibilities we will see, and that is it from the ban list. All of the top tier decks, as we predicted, were hit. We had some other decks like Dark Magician and Dragunity being further hit, and some extra stuff from the ban list. This was an absolute savage ban list, banning the Cocytus, limiting an ultra rare card like the Invocation and Invoker. This is the first time they're restricting you from playing an ultra rare from your collection, essentially deleting your Invocation and a third Invoker. That is absolutely insane. If you have an expiring Dream Ticket soon coming up, make sure you are watching on twitch.tv/DuelLinksMeta. Tuesday, Wednesday, we got the play testing, we got the new structured deck, hopefully a new box soon. We got some tournaments, a $300 tournament. After this week concludes, I will likely make an update on your expiring Dream Tickets on what you should spend them on.